This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing you our second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles review video. For those of you that may be wondering what is on my lap right now, that's my computer. The reason why I have this now is because when I did my first episode, I ended up not having it on my computer, so a lot of the stuff that I ended up saying, it wasn't wrong, but it could have been better if I had this, and I'm not gonna, and for now at least, I'm not planning on redoing that review, at least now. I might end up doing it in the future, but for now, I want to move on. I think that we can come back to that review later. For now, let's speak specifically about. For now, what I'd like to do before I start episode 2, Enter the Shredder, which, yes, Enter the Shredder. I said it. Who is Shredder? Well, a lot of people know, but the character and we've seen this character before already in the first episode twice, I might add, and I've mentioned him before, and I kind of hinted at him before, but I'll say it now just because it's gonna make things go a lot, make things a lot simpler. He's Oroku Saki. Anyway, before I actually start the episode, as I said before, I was going to do. I'm sorry. I know I just sidetracked. I had to speak about that a little bit because it was just like one thing that I kept on like kind of foreshadowing a little bit in my last episode, and I didn't want to say it, but I did want to say it, and it's just all this excitement. I don't know. One thing I forgot to mention in my last episode, and I feel so sorry about this now. Forgive me, everyone. Is the theme. And what about, you may be wondering? Well, didn't really speak about it, and I thought now would be a good time. So, this theme is the original one, as we all know. It's the one. It is probably one of my favorite ones, but believe me, there are plenty of other themes that they've done. Just as a heads up for everyone, I do plan on eventually doing a video talking about, a video where I do a top 5 or a top 10 or a top video or ones talking about like what's my favorite themes for each of the series, as well as one maybe talking about possibly one specific to movie themes for Turtles, and maybe doing one as a combination of the two. I don't know about the last one, but the first two I'm definitely considering. I may specify if there's one theme that's better compared to the movies, or comparing a movie theme to a TV theme. But I do plan on going through each of them, and I do plan on going into detail on each of these a little bit. But for the original one, I'd like to make this one simpler, just because it's been done to death. People know it pretty darn well. It's like the 80s in. I mean, it's one of the most well-known 80s themes. For 80s, late 80s, early 90s themes. Sorry. But I'd like to talk about it a little bit. So, the theme starts out with the Turtles, jumping out of the classic party wagon vehicle from the show. This vehicle is one that is created by one of the Turtles himself, which, another thing I forgot to mention. Didn't mention the opinion. Opinions, what am I saying? I'm sorry again. It's not opinion. Another thing I forgot to mention was the personalities of the Turtles. a lot of people know about them, but I'd like to just go over them one last time for those people that actually don't know about them. Sorry guys, this may be something you may have heard like a million times and plenty of people know it. I know. But the idea is that Leonardo's the leader. He's the guy that is all about respecting his master, doing right. He's like in today's world, he'd be considered like the teacher's pet, the guy that likes to do things by the book. Very usually considered the wise one, but at the same time has this thing about him where he has to be number one in some way. Then there's Raphael, who's the guy who in the theme they say Raphael is rude. Like when they say he's rude, it's not I wouldn't like that in the theme they say that. I wouldn't necessarily go as far as to say that. Because the thing is that he's not. I mean, he's a much more like aggressive personality. In the original cartoon, his aggressive nature is very, very limited, and that's one thing I do have to mention now is that is that a lot of their personalities are very, very, very restrained. Like in later shows, and this is one of my biggest complaints about their characters in the original. People love them, don't get me wrong, I love the original Turtles, but one of my biggest complaints ever is the fact that a lot of their personalities are very, very restrained, and a lot of them really don't stick out from one another too much. I mean, you get a sense of who's who in regard to, okay, Leonardo's the leader, Raphael's the guy that likes to do all the badass stunts and all that. I mean, he's the guy that people look at and say, oh my god, he's the baddest. But I mean, in the original specifically, his personality is really, really, really hidden. Like you can tell that he has attitude because the way he talks and the way he makes jokes and his humor is very raw and it's very, it sticks out, but it's still hard. Like my biggest issue is with Leonardo and Donatello, because Leonardo and Donatello, a lot of times when because a lot of times the thing is that Donatello often really doesn't talk that much about technology, because the thing, even though he says like, even though the idea is that basically he's the smart one, in the original he is the smart one. Don't get me wrong, but the thing is that he's not this character that says all this very, very, out of this world intelligent stuff in the original, and it's not a bad thing, but it's not what. But the thing is that it's like, if you're gonna talk about these characters, talk about them. Like, make these characters known. I mean, the whole entire idea here is that we want these characters to have a overall perspective of life. Oh, that's our personality. You want to give their overall personality and really just like say it. And that's one of my biggest problems with like characters like Donatello, because he'll have episodes where he's acting like that person that we know him to be, this intelligent guy, but the rest of the time he's acting. He kind of just is there. He doesn't really like overdo his personality. Like he doesn't stand out as much. He's kind of just a turtle. He's just one of the turtles. He doesn't really feel like he stands out much. Michelangelo, though, is a character that always stands out in every iteration, but this one, he stands out in a unique way. How so, you may be wondering? Well, for one thing, he is unique in multiple ways. First of all, as everyone knows, not as everyone knows, but like, as many major fans may know, he's the jokester, he's the silly guy. Personally, I'll say I think his humor is good at times, but his character gets better over time. I think his early stuff is good. Don't get me wrong. I still love him. I praise the turtles. Turtle power forever. I mean that. But regardless of that, I have to say this now. His character in the original, the overall personality that they're trying to drive, it's there, but it's restrained. It's very restrained because they're really trying to test the waters for the show at this time. And what they do, which I don't disagree with, and personally, I mean, I like it, but at the same time, it only happens in this version of it, is they give him a surfer dude voice, and that's why he has his catchphrase "Cowabunga," and I mean, thank goodness for that, because otherwise we wouldn't even have that phrase. But there's actually a real history behind that, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Regardless of this, he's still a great character. It's just all these characters in the original show have this problem, specifically in regard to the turtles more so. I mean, I wouldn't say that the other characters don't do their job right, but it's just that overall personalities of the characters, they're kind of like, you can sum them up in a few words, but they're not very, like, that's what the themes do. They sum them up in a few words, but my biggest issue with that is the fact that they're not wrong, but it's sort of like the theme only talks specifically about sort of like the theme only talks specifically about like when they mention them, it sort of speaks about just moments of their personality, because in reality, I mean, yes, these things flow throughout the original show and a lot of other seasons, but it's kind of like a hint to the future rather than what it really shows of them in the show. And I'm not saying they have different personalities in the show, because they don't, but at the same time, it's sort of like they kind of all meld together in a way in some cases. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying in some cases it feels a lot like they kind of just like they all in some cases just kind of are one in some ways. But more so I feel this with Leonardo and Don. Raphael and Michelangelo stick out a lot more, but like Don and Leo especially, they stick out a lot. They don't stick out a lot at all, and it's one of my biggest gripes about their development in regards to the fact that they are characters that go through very little development overall, and they really don't do, and they really only have moments where they really shine in regard to what they're meant to be, and it's just very bothersome in the original, because if you're gonna give them certain personalities, you want to hammer them down. You want people to like get sick of them after a while and just feel like, but sick in the sense, not sick in the sense of like, oh, I hate it. In more the senses of like, just like make it so clear that people can't not argue with you. Like in this case, I mean, I'm not arguing at the same time. I don't even think that's, well, aren't you saying that basically they're doing that? I mean, yes, but no. It's one of my biggest problems with their overall personalities in the show, is the fact that they're very, 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 very back and forth, because it's very much so something that I could say, oh, but there's this, but then you could argue, but there's this. And because I mean, like, for example, Donatello. He's this character that's meant to be the smart one, and it's not like he's not a smart one. It's not like he's not a smart turtle. He's brilliant. he's very intelligent. I mean, he creates the turtle blimp. He creates all sorts of crazy inventions. He creates the classic party wagon. I mean, he creates a lot of great stuff in the original. Not that, I mean, he creates basically those two things and some smaller stuff here and there. Those are probably the two of the biggest ones. But I mean, regardless of that, he still is intelligent. It's just he doesn't really, like, for one thing, he doesn't really talk necessarily as much like this very intelligent, outspoken, guy that people look at and just were like, don't know what the hell, don't know what you're even saying. Like in some iterations of him, he basically is this character that like the other turtles just look at and just like look at him like, I don't even know what you're saying. Like they're confused because he's just this turtle that stands out so much. And he's known for not being the most funny. That's fine. I'm even thinking, why am I even mentioning the humor? It's one of my things that I'll talk about later on in these series. For now, I like to say that Leo is a character that is another one situation. He's even worse in some ways in regard to character development. I know people hate me when I say this, but it's so true. He's a character that really, 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 really should be shown more in regard to doing what he's known for, being a leader. And he has moments. He has them, and I don't dislike it, but at the same time, it's like it's very, very hindered in the original. It's so and it bothers me because I love these turtles. I love the original turtles, but at the same time, their personalities are one of their biggest problems. It's one of my biggest rant issues, and I'm sorry I'm making this video very long, specifically on this, but you know what? It's so true. It's so true. I mean, think about it. I don't want to spoil. Like my biggest problem is, and this is something that I plan on doing later on when I've gone through a lot of these shows, a lot of these series, is basically comparing them and talking about how certain ones do things better, because that's the thing. This season doesn't really hammer in the point that he's like this leader. I mean, don't get me wrong. We obviously can tell that he's always the one that's leading the group. He's always the one that's like the guy that they go to start things, the guy that they go to tell them when to attack, the guy that's always leading the action, the one that's always going after Shredder, the one that's always in the front pretty much, the one that always is like he's known for it, but at the same time it's very, very minimized, and it doesn't really feel like it's so much so like he's this guy that has all the detail in the world. So sorry about that was a phone. So anyway, sorry about that. So anyway, what ends up happening is that I don't dislike. I'm sorry I keep on going back to these points, but it's just like I don't dislike Leo. I don't dislike Raph. I don't dislike any of these turtles. I love these turtles. The only issue with them is that their personalities are very, 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 very minimized, and it feels very, and it's a problem that they have throughout the show, and it's something that they do, and I love them at the same time. It's one of my biggest complaints when it came to the original show, and I just wanted to get this out of the way now. I know that this was originally meant to be an episode focused on the second episode of our Turtle Review, talking about Shredder, talking about the second episode and Enter the Shredder. Sorry, but this is an important episode. I would love it if you guys put down in the comments what your opinion of the whole entire personality situation is. Personalities of the character situation is. I know I also meant to talk about the themes a little bit more. I plan on doing that right now. Actually, I just wanted to like freeze frame and just mention the fact that if you guys want to state your opinions, please do so. This is just one thing that like I always have a problem talking about because it's such a big issue, and it's something that I love to talk about, but at the same time, and I love to say that I love them because I do love these turtles. I love them. They're great. They're great turtles. They're a great version of the turtles. Don't get me wrong. I love the original. I love the original turtles. They're so great, but it's just their personalities just bother me in some ways, and at the same time they don't bother me, and it's confusing because it's like I love them, but at the same time I don't, in some sense, very minor, and don't hate me. So anyway, getting back to the review of the review of the actual opener. So we see them in action. We see the turtles then fighting the foot soldier, the turtles and the foot soldiers in a scene. We end up seeing Shredder. We end up seeing several other important characters, and including April. And it's this whole entire intro. As I said before, it mentions all their personalities, and it's a perfectly good opener. You know, it gives the basic sense of what's gonna of like this epic, exciting opener that people just, you know, everyone loves it. It's great. I personally think it's a very good opener. Is it my favorite opener? No. It's a good opener. It's not my favorite. It's a very good opener. I would not say that that's my favorite season, my favorite series opener. It's one of my favorites. It's definitely up there. And as I said before, I do plan on doing reviews about the opener. I do plan on doing like a top 10 or a top something related to the openers, but currently speaking, I would not say it's my favorite. But I will get to one. I will get to it soon. So next time I will talk about mine. So next time I'll actually go over a second episode. I know I meant to focus on the. I'm sorry again that I meant to focus on the actual episode, the actual second episode, but due to the fact that I had to address the whole entire themes and character personalities issue, this episode ended up being focused specifically on that rather than the actual second episode. I do plan on releasing it hopefully today, maybe tomorrow. The actual second episode, but this is an episode that I really realized I needed to get out because it's very important, and I'm sure plenty of people noticed immediately, like, hey, where's the opener? Hey, where's the hey, why aren't you talking about the characters that much? I mean, you really didn't talk that much about them in the whole opener. You really want to talk about April a little bit, and even then, sorry. I meant to. I did. I meant to talk a lot more about the turtles. And I love to talk about the turtles. But I didn't. So, this is really me just stating a few things, giving you some extra thoughts on them, and thoughts in the opener, and just knowing that these things are done are so important. I know that these episodes, the first two episodes seem very long, and get used to it for now at least. I hope to eventually shorten them, but please understand me. I'm gonna over time, I hope to make these episodes shorter in some cases and longer in other cases. It really depends. I'm sorry. It's hard, but you know what? I enjoy it. So please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I hope to see you all. I hope to hear to see them, and please subscribe. And any one of you. I mean, subscribe. Please. It's just very important to me. I love all you guys. This has been Crazy Samurai 71 here, and I'm out.